Hey, welcome back. We are here for another episode and another week. I am so excited to be back here with you guys talking more about all things corporate contracts. Um, I just came back from my break, my holiday break. I took the almost the whole week off. We dip in and out, but had a chance to chill at the beach. Took my hair down, said we're doing natural today. Doing something a little different. Fun fact, I guess, I change my hair a lot. I haven't done it as much in pandemic times, but I remember like going into work. People always get nervous because I would change my hair from not week by week, but every couple of weeks I would have a completely different style, and they would be like, "Oh, what's going on?" If you know, you know. So right now we are in our natural phase, and we just gonna go and roll with it. All right. So I am looking forward again to diving in today. We are going to be talking about 3 ways to add more value to your corporate contracts. And these ways are going to be methods that don't require you to add more time, more commitments, more, creating extra deliverables, shifting your whole entire offer or package or anything like that. We're going to be talking about 3 simple ways that you can add inherent value to your contracts without sacrificing or giving away more time. So, this topic, I always like to kind of start with why I even thought of this. This is actually something that I've been actively using in potential partnerships with clients. And what I've been able to do is understand, like, for me, one of my core values of my business is that I created this so I can have freedom, so that I can be able to spend more time with my family and son, not to trade a, W-2, getting on the laptop every day, doing the work for, an LLC to have the same type of setup and position, right? So my goal is not to be behind a laptop all day is basically what I'm saying. I want to be able to move and shake and do the things. And so as I was thinking about the topic for this week and thinking about my own business, I'm like, it's really important for people to understand that in order to get some of these higher level contracts, like you see people talking about $1 million and even $1 billion contracts, one, it's important to know they're likely not doing that all themselves, right? And there are ways where you can still land large opportunities that will require you to do some of the things that we're going to share. I don't want to jump into the video just yet. All right. So if you're new here, my name is Kirsten Allen, corporate contract strategist, and I work with experts to help them land more corporate contracts in their business. Despite the face, I have been in this industry and in the B2B space since about 2017, and in sales for even longer. So sales marketing has been my bread and butter since the very start of my career, even going back to my retail days. So I understand not only the process behind marketing and sales, but also the process of dealing with selling to people in the C-suite or high-level decision makers that are looking for solutions to their company's problems. I like to say I'm the translator for my clients to help them be able to speak the language of what these corporate organizations are looking for. I've done multi-six-figure deals. I have worked with, again, people in the C-suite and universities, corporations, and in the nonprofit space. So you are in good company. Everything I share today and in my entire series, if you go back and watch any of my videos, is based on my personal experience, either through clients or again through my long-lasting career in this space. I've worked for 2 of the largest technology companies doing exactly what I share in this process and in these videos. So all that to say, if you're new here, come on in. Let's dive in. If you're an OG, you already know the deal. We're going to bring that heat. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first one that I wanted to share with you today, which is super interesting about what I just said, getting some of these larger contracts, people typically aren't doing them on their own. And that's because they're leveraging partnership. So the first way that you can add more value to your corporate contracts is by getting partners. And I want to give you guys an example of this through a real client example. We're working through a potential, the opportunity is going to come through. We're now crafting the package and moving into our negotiation phase with this client. But for the package that we're putting together, the university is looking for several different things that aren't necessarily outside of the scope of my client, but they would involve more things that isn't really aligned to the core service packages that we deliver. So she's like, oh, I really don't have this. I really don't have that. And I was like, wait, you actually do have access to some of these things that they're looking for via some of the partnerships that you've established with other service providers, with other organizations. You can pull these organizations and these individuals into the deal to add more value and address the things that they need. So in this example, like they're looking for donation partners, they're looking for, someone that can help facilitate an event and things of that nature. And I'm like, hey, here's this person that you can pull in, or here's a couple of other organizations that you just talked with in order to sell your services. However, you could go back to them with an opportunity to partner with you in this university opportunity that we're working on. And so for you all, I want you to be able to think creatively. And again, as I mentioned, not only with this client, this is something that I'm actively doing in my business in the area of leadership coaching. I'm like, let me partner up with more people that are in this space so that as opportunities arise, because I get a lot of opportunities in my inbox, government opportunities, opportunities to work with schools. And I do a lot of research in terms of what is available and what people are looking for. So I'm like, I have a ton of opportunities, but I know, again, going back to my personal values, I'm not going to be everywhere trying to capitalize on each of these opportunities. So what can I do? I can partner up with people who are located in these areas, or again, who are available to do some of these opportunities. And I have the infrastructure, I have the relationship, I have the processes that can easily be installed for these opportunities. All I need is the person that can go and do and execute it. And so that is a way that you can add more, again, value, or either meet the needs that the client is looking for that you actually may not provide. And so you want to think about, and this is why when I talk about my discovery process with clients, even from the initial email, you want to present this as an opportunity to co-create, as an opportunity to design and understand what their pain points are at a large scale. You don't want to just pigeonhole down into exactly what it is that you provide in the way that you provide it, right? Example with this client that I just mentioned to you a moment ago. Her services, when she actually spoke with this university the first time, they actually kind of went dark because they were no longer doing this particular, the services and things that they talked about. That project was being pushed off, right? So they actually went dark. However, they came back to her when they actually had a need for a program that they're looking to do in the upcoming semesters, and they wanted to be able to collaborate with her on that. So that was a great opportunity where she was able to move something forward and actually move forward with this client in something that they needed right then, versus only being focused on, hey, here's my packages, here's my options, this is what you can do. So not only we're kind of going outside of adding value, but also even just getting in the door and landing opportunities, being more flexible and figuring out how you can pull people in through partnerships, through collaboration, that can help add some value without sacrificing time. So that's the first thing. The other thing that you can think about, and this is especially important for those of us who are service providers or we're in the education business, leadership coaching and things of that nature, think about how you can add on additional digital products or leave behinds or access to recordings, things of that nature, to add more value into your contracts. Now, again, you don't want to just add blanket stuff that doesn't make sense, right? So you don't want to, create a PDF and it has nothing to do with anything that you taught, or, people aren't really going to use it. It just makes no sense. Think about what can be some companion pieces that actually make sense for the offers that you're providing. For example, if you're doing a leadership talk or you're doing a speech, right? One of the competencies that I teach in my practice, my leadership practice, is about strength finders. So one of the things that I could do inside of if I did a coaching session or I did a training, I could add the strength finders assessment to my package for each person who participates in my training. That can be something that's a simple value add. All that is them paying me the additional to be able to get the licenses for the test and giving it out to the students that participate in the training. So that's one thing out of a million different things that you can do. Assessments, you can bundle in. I mentioned like creating your own PDFs or leave behinds, giving the recording to your session. I know my attorney friends are going to, and especially the ones that work with me, are going to be glad about this part. But when you're doing any type of training, whether that's virtual or in person, don't automatically go to giving them rights to the recordings and to be able to have things in perpetuity and all those things. Make sure you get your attorneys to help you navigate the actual language in the contract. That's one of the pieces I definitely work with my clients to make sure they have support in those areas, because again, you could be giving away something that could be that easy value add to continue to up level the contract versus just giving rights away lifetime. Most of the attorneys that I know and the ones that I work with would definitely advise against that. This is not legal advice at all. I am not a licensed attorney. Contact your attorney. However, from a business standpoint, from my level of expertise, I would definitely advise considering how you can use some of those avenues, such as recordings, replays, as a way to add more value. And basically how you can approach that is just say, well, hey, this is the price point for me to be able to do this live. This is my proprietary information. If you would like to, have access to this for future individuals that come into the company, you can purchase licensing, or you can purchase a license to be able to review the content on demand through my house platform or whatever way you want to deliver it to them. That's a way not only adding value to the initial contract, but also adding some recurring value to the contract. And so in that instance, you would be able to do the engagement once, but then you'll be able to get some residuals as you continue to make that available to those clients. And if you have additional people that you want to pitch this to, that could be the entire offer, right? I mentioned to you all that one of my corporate contracts was literally to do a pre-recorded course. And one of the strategies that I'm using based on that course is taking that and licensing it to other nonprofit organizations that have the same need that the organization I built the course for had. And so you could use a similar process. You do this live in person, and then you package it up as a course to sell to other universities, other corporations. And yes, they do purchase and license digital content. So for those of you who may have any type of limiting beliefs around that, like, do they purchase courses? They absolutely do. It's all about how you position things. So with anything that I share, there's always a negative and a positive. There's always a could and a couldn't, but I like to think about how can I versus, oh, this won't work. And so when you're thinking about something to that effect, if you did want to be able to license some things or be able to sell a course, think about what's the value of this. Think about how this can be positioned as a way to continue adding value to this client from the moment that you end the talk and you go on, that they'll be able to have access to this. Or again, as new people come into the organization, they can go through it as a part of their onboarding and training. Just random ideas that you kind of want to think about and see what kind of sticks for you and what you offer ultimately. Okay, so that was a mouthful. I see people kind of jumping in, so I always do a quick recap. We already talked about our first one being making sure that if you want to add more value to your contracts, the partnership piece. So finding individuals that can come and support other areas that the client might be looking for in order to create that value, create that stickiness, and address their needs in totality. I talked about being a valued partner versus being transactional. This is one of the ways that you really begin to be a relational partner with these corporate organizations. If you can come in and say, hey, here's my partner here. I don't necessarily do this, but I have someone that I work with that I can bring in to provide X, Y, and Z service. And you kind of serve as the overseer, or again, the person, the middleman, right? Essentially, that's actually not a word that I know it's specifically in government. We don't want to use that word, but y'all understand what I mean. You're creating the partnership. You're obviously bringing some type of value. You're doing some piece of the service, but you're bringing in others to continue to add that value. So that was number one. The second one we just talked about was adding value through things that are asynchronous, really, we could call that. So your recordings of your speeches, your license to different supplementary tools that may be beneficial to the topic that you're covering, your one pagers, your PDFs, your book, right? So we'll talk about the third one in a second, but adding in those individual resources or tools that will help support the things that you're providing in your trainings or in your services, whatever that looks like for you. And then for the last piece, well, let's talk about the books real quick because I think that's the interesting one. I do have another client that actually has a published book. And one of the things that we talked about to add additional value to her contracts is throwing in copies of the book to individuals that purchase her services. She's also someone who works with universities as well as production companies. And so when in her proposals and when we were going through that sales process, I told her, if there's an opportunity where, they can get value, say you're doing this at a large event or an intimate, type of workshop or something to that effect where it would make sense, go ahead and add in your book as a way to add additional value to the opportunity. Another flip side to this is if you do have a book and you're doing some type of workshop or talk, you can also use that as a way to sell some of your copies of your book during those events. So again, adding more value, something that you've already created, that's already published, take it out there and add it to your contracts to add more value. All right. And then the last piece that I'll say that you can also use to add more value to your contracts without really giving up more of your time is to add in some type of assessments, right? Assessments or benchmarking where you can actually review the progress of the things that you have implemented within an organization. So this one kind of does take some time, but not necessarily needing time or coming back on site and all of those things. It's more so of a post-assessment and giving a readout of the progress that you all have made through your training, through your workshop, or whatever that looks like. So let's talk about this kind of in more simple details. So an assessment could look like, all right, so you go in the first time, let's give a specific offer that we will provide. So say we're doing, I try to give new examples because I do leadership all the time. Say you're going in and doing, okay, cool. Let's say you are a retail consultant and you're going in and you're working with the sales floor to be able to help them get more efficient in terms of how many people they're ringing up and how accurate they are in their cash counting. I don't know how many people count cash, but I know when I was in retail, we still counted cash. So thinking about ways to optimize that whole experience, right? So you come in, you do your initial assessment, you gather their initial numbers, like, okay, how long is it taking them to ring up somebody? How long, is it taking them to be able to get the line down? All the things, right? And then throughout the process, after you come in and do your training or whatever you're going to do to help them get to a better place, then you can offer this company the opportunity to assess, like remeasure those numbers so that you can be able to help them see the progress of how clients or how their individual staff members are able to take what you said and get more efficient, get more productive in the processes that you measured. And so providing them with that information, again, it does technically require some time, but instead of leaving it to them to figure out what the ROI of whatever you did was, add it into your contract that you're going to do some type of assessment and be able to present to them. Here's where we were. Here's what we did. Here was the outcome, after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days, whatever that process is for you, and show them what the ROI was for them bringing you in and doing this specific service. If you do this, not only does it help the client be able to see like, okay, this was value. That's one thing. Then they can take that and say, okay, well, we need to bring you in to work with this department or do this, or we're going to talk to you about other people that we are connected with that can also utilize your services because we had such a great experience. That's two. And then also, the last thing is once you can start to gather data for yourself in terms of ROI, it makes you so much more comfortable and confident when you're talking about what it is that you do, how it's important for corporations, and what it drives, which is all they care about, right? We get into the online space and think we have to do all these amazing grand things. And yes, we do want to be polished, we want to have a nice website and all of those things. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're speaking to the priorities and the outcomes of these organizations. And especially once you get your first few contracts, having this built-in process to get measurable results, chef's kiss, right? Then the opportunities should open up for you even more from those three avenues that I shared. From the fact that not only will clients be able to talk better about you and recommend you to others in their industry, but now when you are doing testimonials or you're putting things on your website or you're in a discovery conversation with a new client, you can say, hey, look, here's what we were able to do for this particular company. Here's where they started. Here's what we did. And then here's the outcome. The sooner that you can get to that, this process can become so much easier for you because you'll feel more confident speaking about what are those tangible outcomes that companies want to get to. If I could say anything is kind of like the roadblock or the thing that you want to address, or that even companies are really thinking as they are looking at service providers, is that ROI. So not only is this a suggestion to add more value, I definitely believe that this is a necessity as you are beginning this journey, and something that I also encourage my clients to be able to do. So we do things like, surveys and having a portion where we present the survey results to the client, especially as we're talking about what other opportunities may arise in the future. You want to be able to have those data points, even in a course, for example. The course that I sold to the nonprofit organization, I did 2 courses. There is a survey, a QR survey at the end of each of those courses, and I have access to all of the responses that I get based on those surveys. And so what I can do with that information is say like, hey, here's where people started. And in that survey, because I wasn't directly working with the students because it was a pre-recorded course, I asked questions about where they examined themselves at the starting point and where they examined themselves after the course. So then I'm able to showcase, okay, here's where they, were feeling about their career development, which is what the course is about. And then here's how they're feeling now after going through the curriculum, completing the exercises, blah, blah, blah. Now I can take that information as a case study and move forward as I'm going to license this to other organizations. So whatever way it looks like, survey, assessment, poll, hand raise, polling during your talk, or if you're doing a virtual event, if you do some type of poll during that on Zoom or whatever platform you're using, measure as much as you can. It's so much better when you can speak to numbers when it comes to corporate contracts and dealing with decision makers versus feelings. So I know it's kind of like a flip-flop in between how you would market to individuals. And I don't want to say it's end all to be all. Corporate people are human too. So they do have emotions, and, you want to definitely tap into some of those things. But at the end of the day, despite how much they may like you or believe in what you're doing and all the things, they're not obligated, or they're not going to spend the company's money unless it's going to make a return on investment and ultimately make them look good. This isn't the topic of this video, but when you're having conversations with decision makers, always try to tap into what would make them look like the hero of their department. When I was selling in this space actively for my full-time career, we wanted to figure out, we want to make sure if we were taking out a competitor or something to that effect, we want you to look like the hero of your department. We want to make you look like you just saved everything, and we're just here to provide the product or the service that's going to make you look best. If you kind of take on that similar belief of how can I make this decision maker look like the hero of their department, they're going to open up their wallets, right? They're going to open up, first of all, and tell you all the things that's going on and all the things they're up against and all the stresses that they have. And then you could take that information and say, well, look, here's how I can help you. Here's what we do. Like, here's how the transformation that we provide can make your life and your job even better. And we can showcase this for you in a step-by-step process. We can assess this for you so that you don't have to go back and prove why this was of value to your higher ups. We have already done that work for you to make this easier. That adds more value. And I would venture to say that is going to move the process forward faster for you, because that's something that companies are actively tracking, is the numbers, is the metrics. So they don't just spend money because, again, they like you. It's all tied to the metrics and the bottom line. So the more that you can help alleviate that capturing of those metrics, the more that you can stand out and be attractive to those who want to work with you. Okay, so I know a few people dipped in and out. I'm going to just do a quick recap before we wrap up and move into the next phase, where I invite you to move forward with me if that's something that you want to consider. So first way to add more value, number one, is going to be partnership. Who can you partner with? Don't try to do this all alone. Who has a layer of expertise that is not yours, or something that you don't like doing, don't want to do all the things? Find people to fill in those spots, right? Think about it like a puzzle piece, right? You might have a few pieces of the puzzle together, but there could be a few missing ones. You find those pieces, plug them in where they need to be, you got a full puzzle. That's the way that you want to think of it. The second piece is going to be to add in those additional supplemental resources. If you have a book, if you have PDFs, if you have a companion course, right, that goes along with the training that you were doing, possibilities are endless on things that you can add without spending more of your additional time being present or presenting. You can add in some of these things. And then the last one was leveraging the assessment piece and being able to add in how you're going to capture metrics and how you're going to help them understand the ROI by just implementing some simple processes and in your delivery to make sure that you capture the ROI that you're bringing and the overall sentiment from those who participated in your training or in your workshop facilitation, whatever that looks like. All right. So that's what we covered. I hope this was helpful for you. And I hope that you'll take some of this in mind as you're thinking about your next contract, or even if you're in discovery calls. Listen out for some of these things that could be easy value adds to your contracts, where you might be leaving some money on the table, and be able to think creatively about how you can pull in a partner, how you can pull in a resource, or how you can even create that process for them to be able to assess, to then say, yeah, it's, $50,000, but here are some of the things that we're going to be, it's $50,000. And here are the things that we are going to include in that for you. And in your mind, it looks like, hey, we're including these different things. To them, it's going to look like, oh, this is great. This is everything we need. But for you, it's going to be like, well, I'm really not doing too much extra. I'm just pulling together some things that I already had, or using my network in a way that's very natural to be able to serve these individuals at a high level. So go ahead and drop in the comments which way that you are going to add value to your corporate contracts. If you're going to say all three, you are my girl or my guy, because that is definitely the way to go. But I would love to continue the conversation in the comments. So as you all know, that is the end of the content piece. But if you're wanting to go deeper with this and actually get my support, I always leave with an invitation to work with me. So we're going to move into that now. Now, if this stuck out to you and you're like, hey, yes, I know I need to add more value to my contracts, but I need to, really strategize my whole entire marketing and sales process for getting some of these contracts, then I definitely want to invite you to work with me. And we have some exciting things that we are cooking up outside of some of our standard offers and ways to work with us. So you definitely want to stay tuned to the things that we're going to be planning. But if you are interested in getting a behind the scenes on ways to work with me, that can look in many different ways. We can do a session where we talk a little bit more in detail about your situation in an ad hoc type of one-off experience. Or you can do one of our opportunities to do our VIP days. Our VIP days is where we sit together and go through this entire process from top to bottom. We go through your offers and see, again, not only how can you add additional value in these ways, but what things in your actual package can you use to continue to be attractive to corporate organizations or universities, nonprofits, whoever that looks like for you. we go and build your marketing strategy customized to you. So I have clients who are like, hey, I want to do more in-person events, or I have these connections that I want to leverage. And I build a process around what is going to be most natural for them. So this is one-on-one. This is not cookie cutter processes. This is me helping you to customize what I know to work and my overall experience in this space, and bring it to something that's going to be sustainable for you, and ultimately something that you can pass off to a team member to help you with and to be able to incorporate into your business. And then finally, we'll go through the sales process. So we talked through kind of a little bit today of the negotiation piece, but there's so much more that goes into selling to corporations that you want to make sure that you are spot on with, and that you understand and have someone in your pocket to be able to help you navigate, especially if this is a newer space for you, or you've been someone who's done a lot of referral business and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to do this from scratch. This VIP day is definitely going to give you everything that you need, literally in a box, in terms of marketing and selling your offer, so that you can run to the races and start landing some of these contracts. And so that is one of our signature programs that we offer. But as I mentioned, we have some exciting things going on. So what I would love for you to do, if you're interested in hearing more about ways to work with me, leave a comment here in the comment section, whether you're on Facebook or whatever platform you're on, and comment work, WORK, Lord. And then I will send you the link to be able to get on my calendar and discuss more about working with me. Like I said, we have many different options. So depending on where you are, I'll be able to suggest what will be a good fit for you. But essentially, those people who are meant to work with me are ready to do the work. They have a team member or bandwidth that's going to be able to execute the strategies that we deliver. And they're all about simple stuff. We don't do a whole bunch of razzle dazzle and, things that don't matter. We stick to the meat of what it takes to engage and close corporate contracts. So if you're looking for the simplified process and you're looking for someone that's going to guide you in the right directions, then I definitely want to speak with you more about what we have to offer and see if it's a good fit for you. So again, comment work in the comments, and then I will send you over that link so that you can be able to schedule some time with me and we can see how we can work together. All righty, guys, that is it for this week's episode. I will see y'all next week, same time, same place, same channel, all the things. And until then, I look forward to talking with those of you who want additional support here. And to those of you who attended today, we can chat it up in the comments. All right, y'all. See y'all soon.